Post has been reporting on the presence of Huma Abedin for more than a decade on the masthead of an Islamic journal that published some fairly vile things, including blaming the U.S. for 9/11, and an article by Ms. Abedin's mother in which she wrote that the, quote, empowerment of women does more harm than benefit, unquote. When Ms. Abedin was cleared to work here in the Department of State, one of the 2 jobs she held down during her tenure here, was Ms. Abedin's association with this journal known to the secretary or to anyone else in this building?
James, I don't have an immediate answer for you on that. I haven't seen these reports, to be honest.
Of course, he hasn't seen the reports. We all have, but he hasn't. Joining us now, the one, the only, the great Bill Kristol, editor of the Weekly Standard and ABC News contributor. Hello, Bill.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Good, good, good. Great to talk to you. You got a great piece out there. 3 baby boom presidents would have been enough. We'll try to squeeze that in, but there's so much going on here, which is insane. First of all, this revelation, that's really not new. I mean, we knew about Huma Abedin's family. We knew about her mother. Maybe we didn't know until Paul Sperry at the Post put it out yesterday that Huma Abedin had her name on the masthead of this radical Islamic paper or magazine or newsletter that her mother wrote pieces in, you know, saying basically we deserve 9/11, women should be subservient to men, right up until the time she went to work for the State Department.
I mean, it's hard to know, you know, people saying it should be a masthead and mastheads and she might have had nothing to do with it or not. And I guess the only thing is, shouldn't she just answer the questions about it, and shouldn't Hillary Clinton answer the questions? This is where, I mean, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, as you know, but I will say this, that he does answer questions, and his campaign answers questions. And so if he says something or someone associated with him says something, you can usually get an answer about whether they stand by it or what the circumstances were, why someone said something or whatever. But it is amazing. What's amazing is not that we're having this conversation. It's, the thing was out there. A normal campaign would have answered within 24 hours. Did they answer it? Have they explained anything, the Clinton campaign?
No, they've had no comment on this whatsoever.
And that is a little stunning. And again, in general, that I think is a very legit. I mean, this is one reason why I find her so unacceptable. Who's ever heard of a candidate going, a 200+ days without? Is this literally true that she hasn't had a press conference?
Over 260 days, no press conference. And yesterday, her campaign chief said, but she's done 300 interviews with separate journalists. So they're pretty happy with that, they said. That's outrageous.
And they, of course, pick the journalists, and those things tend to be a little harder to, you're sitting there across the table, it's a little harder to be as tough maybe as if you're one person asking a question. And but anyway, it's this is a particular question, right? I mean, what was her relation to the magazine? How did she get the job at the State Department? How did I think it was first at the White House, right? That she got a job in 2006, 2007. Right. What were the connections? And then, of course, the substantive question, more I think than the journal. The policies were the policies, and we can criticize. I'm happy to criticize Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State. For me, it is the amazing fact that she was able to hold the government job and the private sector job in effect at the same time as a special government employee in 2012. I was in the government. I had a lot of friends who were in the government. I mean, the degree to which, by the Bush administration, before the Obama administration, it had gotten so tight, reasonably so, perhaps, on the ethics stuff. I had a friend who couldn't teach a course he offered to do it for free at Georgetown that they've been teaching for 2 decades.
Wow. While
he was at the State Department, because, Georgetown might have contracts with the State Department, and they do some teaching for the State Department and have a campus abroad, and people might think that his having a State Department job while teaching a course, even though he said, look, I don't even want to be paid, it's just...
And that's how it should be, Bill. That's how it should be.
That was strict, and God knows, when I was in government, it was that way. That's the thing people, I think, who haven't been in government don't understand, the amazing scale of the violation of the normal... I don't know about the laws, but the normal procedures and rules and assumptions.
Look, not to interrupt, but look at the emails.
Went on with the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation.
Right.
And it is really astonishing. And whether it's Huma Abedin or others, I mean, just the kind of contempt they had for the normal processes of recusing yourself from things and creating Chinese walls and making sure that you don't intermingle anything that might have some taint of private gain with public service. I mean, that was a pretty, whatever you think of government, I mean, that's become a pretty those were enforced pretty strictly over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And when they weren't, when people violated them, people tended to get fired or disciplined. And the Clinton team seems to have just had no interest in any of that at all.
Yeah, and of course, the many more emails released today, including the one from Doug Band at the Clinton Foundation to Uma Abedin, and gaining access for the Crown Prince of Bahrain. And that government, of course, contributed tens of millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation.
And that's why you shouldn't have a Secretary of State whose family is running a foundation at the same time. It's one thing if you can't control what you did before you were in government, right? So if you worked in a certain business, you work there, and then you go into government. But then you don't continue to have a relationship. That's why people put things in blind trust. That's why people resign. Think of the campaigns. It's true of Trump and Manafort as well, though. I was really stunned by this. I remember in 2000, Karl Rove, I think, sold his firm. He went full-time. All of his, work was for Bush. I think Axelrod did the same thing for Obama. So they didn't have corporate clients at the same time, so they couldn't say that,
right.
A corporate client calls up and says, I'd like access to this guy. He might be the next president of the United States. And that's been the custom. This campaign, it's like we're in a whole different universe. So Paul Manafort's got clients. He doesn't disclose them. Trump doesn't make his tax returns available on the one hand. The Clinton Global Initiative thing is beyond belief. Then they announced that they're cutting off contributions, but only if she were to become president, right? Not now. So people can buy an amazing amount of goodwill now, I suppose.
Right.
I mean, it really is astonishing.
Crazy stuff. All right, I want to skip ahead to 154 control room. I want to put up a tweet from Donald Trump earlier today. Tried watching low-rated at Morning Joe this morning. Unbelievable. Morning Mika is off the wall, a neurotic and not very bright mess. You responded with your own tweet. Let's go to the next one. This issue isn't what Trump's assault on Joe and NBC, especially Morning Mika, says about his campaign. It's what it says about him as a person. And then you might have also been referring to this one, because this was part of the attack as well. Someday when things calm down, Trump tweeted out, I'll tell the real story of Joe NBC and his very insecure longtime girlfriend, Morning Mika, two clowns. Is that over the line?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's up to Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski what they want to say about their relationship, if they have one. It's really not right for a presidential candidate. I mean, I've just never heard of anyone doing anything like that running for president. I don't know. Yes, I think it's creepy.
So is that when you say it speaks to Trump more than what,
Yeah.
What do you?
I mean, he's a bully. It's like, I've got stuff on Heidi Cruz. I'm going to spill the goods. I mean, he just likes, he's a guy who likes to get his own way and bullies people and threatens to expose things. Some of them may be true, obviously, some not true. He's kind of careless about the facts. But, I think it's bad behavior, and it shows a kind of personality that I don't think you'd want in the White House if you could avoid it.
All right, Bill, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Steve. All
right, the one and only Bill Kristol, ladies and gentlemen. Still ahead, Ben Stein will be joining us in the next segment. Right now, your phone calls 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629. I do want to bring up one thing that I didn't manage to get to yet, and the Obama administration suffered a big loss today when a federal judge in Fort Worth, Texas, actually on Sunday, sided with Texas and 12 other states and ruled that Obama cannot force schools to let kids use whatever bathroom they so choose to use. So he says this extends not only to the 12 states and Texas, but to the whole country. So with school starting, unless this is appealed, and I'm sure it'll be appealed, another unconstitutional act from Barack Obama and his administration, just unilaterally deciding that Title IX or whatever the heck it is applies here, and any kid who says he's a girl, if it's a boy or vice versa, could just use any bathroom they want. A judge has said you can't. Just for the record. Just for the record. All right, Kent is first up from Canyon Lake, Texas, the state we're talking about. Hello, Kent.
Yes.
How are you, sir? Thanks for calling.
Hi. I'm glad to be on. My wife and I are big fans of yours, and you and JD and your whole crew is awesome. We love.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, since I'm on here, do you remember that picture of Obama and his Situation Room when he had his whole crew in there, and they were watching what was going down when our boys were in
getting bin Laden, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at everybody's face in there, and I even got to give Obama credit, he had a grim look on his face, and the only one that looked scared in there was Hillary Clinton. She had her hand over her mouth, and she genuinely looked scared. I'm thinking, is that who you want as commander-in-chief of this country?
Well, yeah. I remember the picture. I can't honestly say that off the top of my head I remember her hand over her mouth, but it does seem to be accurate. I'll check that out. But either way, you know, that's a good point if it's completely accurate. But either way, Kent, I mean, this woman has exposed so many secrets and so many people who are, serving our country undercover in secret. She's exposed them. Then she tries to blame Colin Powell. And Colin Powell now says, wait, no, that's not the truth. Here's the truth. Again, implying that Hillary's lying. It just never ends with this woman. Never, ever ends.
I was surprised he waited this long to say it myself.
Well, the FBI, maybe he didn't know what she told the FBI, and it was only last week we got the FBI notes where it said she told the FBI, Colin Powell told me. So he's saying, no, I didn't. And you were using it for a year before I told you anything. So she can't help but lie. If the mouth opens, she lies.